Persons attempting to find a motive in this narrative will be prosecuted. Persons attempting to find a moral in it will be banished. Persons attempting to find a plot in it will be shot by order of the author. This is my personal favorite quote from Mark Twain. The quote is in reference to his now infamous story, The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn. The story, now controversial, is set in pre-Civil War America and explores themes of race and identity, the meaning of being civilized, and even things like social responsibility. The problem is that none of those things are really intended by Mark Twain. The quote at the beginning suggests that the story, from his perspective, is nothing more than a surface-level tale of a boy going down the Mississippi River. Now, we can argue all day about whether or not Twain actually believed this quote or not, but I'm not going to pretend to be a mind reader, I'm simply going to take him at his word. Authorial intent versus personal interpretation. This is a topic that I think is important and gets completely confused in American high schools. I'm sure everybody between the ages of 13 and 30 is familiar with this image or some variation on it. The curtains were fucking blue. I'm sure that everybody who attended one of these facilities received an assignment of what did the author mean when they said X? The goal of this assignment is to get the student to read more into the themes of the story and extract some deeper meaning from the text. This is a difficult concept for some students to grasp, and the phrasing of the assignment makes the goal more clear to many people. As a result, however, I believe it has confused people into conflating an author's intention with a deeper reading of the text. A person's individual reading of a passage and the actual authorial intent does not necessarily line up. Let me show you what I mean. Let's look at the world of Harry Potter. Most people at this point are aware that the Harry Potter books are as flawed as their movie counterparts. Procrastitara has been going through each of the books with a critical eye, and objectively there are a lot of things that don't really make sense when reading. Characters do things that don't fit the character that they are, and the extent of how powerful wizards are compared to muggles doesn't really make a whole lot of sense. Even despite this, I really liked these books as a kid, and this is my personal interpretation of the stories. The entirety of Harry Potter's universe is a metaphor for children growing up. As children, we often don't understand the world around us, and things seemingly happen without cause or reason. This is conveyed in the story by following characters throughout their school-age lives as things simply begin happening to them and events unfold in ways that are unexpected and alien. This would obviously be a terrible attempt to cover for the story's flaws, and isn't something that I would ascribe to Rowling as intentional, but it does have validity as a personal interpretation. It's one lens that you could look at the story through. You may disagree with this personal interpretation, but in the end it's very difficult to say that it's wrong. Personal interpretations of media are a way to self-reflect and grow as people. It can be entertaining to look at any story and see what metaphors or connections can be drawn to other works. Perhaps you read a book and find parallels with it in your own life. Maybe that makes you like the story more. Just because it's your personal interpretation doesn't make it any less valid than the author's intent. I'd even argue that your interpretation is more important than any authorial intent that could possibly exist. The reason I take issue with the conflation of these two things is because it leads people to speak on behalf of the author. Saying that the author intended some deeper meaning simply because you were able to extract one is, at best, a bit presumptuous. It implies that you understand the mind of the author by the mere act of reading the story. Now, that's not to say that some authors don't wear their heart on their sleeve, so to say. Some stories do have very clear meanings and interpretation, and their authors may corroborate or elaborate on these interpretations. This is what I would call authorial intent. These are the themes and the ideas that the author used to drive the creation of their story. The intended meanings of particular events that occurred or objects described are products of the author's own personal interpretation of their own work. I've been using examples of books because this is the arena where I find the conflation is most prevalent, but it goes for any and all art that is created. A painting, movie, TV show, or song may have authorial intent and personal interpretations as well. There's hundreds of thousands of pages of people online arguing about these kinds of things and what the author really meant. But here's the thing. Sometimes the curtains really are just blue. Why the author made them blue isn't really that important. The important thing is, what does that mean to you?